For many people around the world, the phrase "ancient aliens guy" instantly brings to mind a man with wild, spiky hair, speaking very seriously about aliens, ancient gods, and mysterious civilizations. His real name is Giorgio A. Tsoukalos, and he became famous as the main face of the History Channel show Ancient Aliens. Over the years, he has become one of the most recognizable figures in modern pop culture, especially on the internet. Some people see him as a truth seeker who is brave enough to ask big questions about human history and the universe. Others see him as a controversial figure who promotes theories that scientists strongly disagree with. No matter what people think about him, there is no doubt that he has become a global icon, and his image has been turned into countless memes that millions of people share online. His serious face and confident voice, combined with very unusual ideas, made him perfect meme material, and soon people were joking that he blamed everything on aliens. The famous meme phrase, "I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens," spread everywhere, even though he may not have actually said it exactly like that. Because of this, many young people who never watched the show still know his face and associate him with alien theories. But behind the memes and jokes, there is a real person with a long and interesting life story, a career that started far away from television, and a deep passion for mysteries, history, and the unknown. Over the last 2 decades, his show has aired hundreds of episodes and reached millions of viewers worldwide, making him one of the most famous conspiracy theory figures in modern media. Critics have called him a fraud, a pseudoscientist, and a storyteller who misleads the public, while fans have praised him for thinking outside the box and inspiring people to question what they learn in school. Universities, podcasts, conventions, and debates have invited him to speak, showing that even people who disagree with him find him fascinating. Despite the heavy criticism, he has never stopped producing content, appearing on shows, or talking about his ideas. Instead of reacting angrily, he often says he is happy to be a meme and believes that any publicity helps people think about the mysteries of the universe. This calm and confident attitude has only made him more interesting to both supporters and critics. Today, people still ask, is Giorgio Tsoukalos a serious researcher trying to uncover hidden truths, or is he simply an entertainer who knows how to sell a mysterious story? To understand what really happened to the Ancient Aliens guy and how he became such a huge figure in pop culture, we need to go back to his early life, his childhood influences, and the experiences that shaped his beliefs long before he appeared on television. Giorgio A. Tsoukalos was born in 1978 in Lucerne, Switzerland, into a family with a very mixed cultural background. His father was Greek, and his mother was Austrian, which meant he grew up with different traditions, languages, and stories around him. This mix of cultures helped shape the way he thought about the world and made him curious about history and human origins from a very young age. Even though he was born in Europe, he also had American roots because his great-grandfather had moved to the United States in the late 1800s, and his grandfather later lived in New York for many decades. Because of this, Giorgio grew up feeling connected to Europe and America at the same time, which later helped him build an international career. As a child, he attended boarding schools, where he spent a lot of time reading and learning about different subjects. One of the biggest influences on him was Greek mythology, which his father made sure he learned well. Stories about gods, heroes, and powerful beings coming from the sky deeply fascinated him. He was especially interested in tales about gods who taught humans knowledge, technology, and culture. These stories planted the first seeds in his mind that maybe ancient people had met beings that were not from Earth. His curiosity about the stars and space also grew as he got older. He loved looking at the night sky and thinking about what might be out there beyond our planet. His grandmother noticed his interest and gave him books that she thought he would enjoy, and one book changed his life forever. That book was Chariots of the Gods? By Erich von Däniken, a famous and controversial author who suggested that ancient civilizations were visited by extraterrestrial beings. The book talked about ancient monuments, mysterious technologies, and old stories that could be interpreted as evidence of alien contact. For young Giorgio, this book was not just entertainment. It was a spark that lit a fire in his imagination. He later said that the ideas in that book stayed with him for decades and influenced everything he would do in the future. He began to see ancient history in a different way, wondering if pyramids, temples, and ancient art could be connected to visitors from other worlds. Even though he was just a child, these ideas fascinated him deeply and made him want to learn more about ancient cultures, archaeology, and space. However, like many people, his childhood dreams were partly pushed aside when he grew older and had to think about a practical career. He did not immediately become an alien researcher. Instead, he chose a path that seemed more realistic and connected to his interest in storytelling and communication. Still, the ideas about ancient astronauts and mysterious visitors never left his mind. They stayed in the background, quietly shaping his thoughts and interests while he moved on to college and adult life. This mix of childhood imagination, cultural heritage, and early exposure to controversial theories created the foundation for the man who would later become the most famous face of the Ancient Alien series. Without these early influences, it is very unlikely that Giorgio Tsoukalos would have followed the unusual path that eventually made him a global celebrity and a symbol of modern conspiracy culture. When Giorgio Tsoukalos became an adult, he did not immediately follow his childhood dreams of studying aliens or ancient mysteries. Instead, he chose a more practical path that still matched his love for stories and media. He moved to the United States and studied sports communication at Ithaca College in New York. This field taught him how media works, how to communicate with large audiences, and how to manage events and promotions. These skills later became very important in his television career, even though at the time he had no idea he would become famous for talking about aliens. He graduated in 1998 with a bachelor's degree in communications, and after college, he entered the world of bodybuilding and fitness events. Giorgio began volunteering at major bodybuilding competitions, including the famous Mr. Olympia events. He helped organize shows, worked behind the scenes, and made sure everything ran smoothly. Over time, he became very well known in the bodybuilding community because of his professionalism and language skills. He could speak several languages fluently, including English, German, French, Italian, and Greek, and he also understood Spanish. This made him a valuable interpreter for athletes who did not speak English, and he worked as an official translator for the International Federation of Bodybuilders. His role grew quickly, and soon he was not just a volunteer but a major promoter and event organizer. He helped promote big contests like the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic and Olympia Weekend, which attracted top athletes and media attention from around the world. Later, he helped launch the San Francisco Pro Grand Prix, where he served as both a promoter and contest director. Under his leadership, the event became one of the biggest bodybuilding competitions in California, attracting famous athletes, sponsors, and journalists. Some legendary bodybuilders even praised him for helping to grow the sport and bring more attention to professional bodybuilding. From the outside, Giorgio looked like a successful businessman in the sports world, with a stable career and a clear future. But behind the scenes, his childhood fascination with ancient mysteries and aliens never disappeared. While he was busy working in bodybuilding, he was secretly reading books, researching strange theories, and connecting with people who believed in ancient astronauts. He believed that ancient stories about gods and visitors from the sky might contain hidden truths. Instead of seeing these ideas as just entertainment, he treated them as serious questions worth exploring. He spent years collecting information, meeting researchers, and learning about archaeology, mythology, and space science from alternative sources. Even though he did not have a formal scientific background, he believed that curiosity and research could lead to new discoveries. This double life, as a bodybuilding promoter by day and a mystery researcher by night, shows how deeply passionate he was about the unknown. Most people would have forgotten their childhood interests, but Giorgio kept his alive and slowly prepared for a future where he could share those ideas with the world. His communication skills, media experience, and business success gave him the tools he needed to become a public figure later on. Without his time in college and bodybuilding promotions, he might never have learned how to speak confidently on camera, manage projects, or attract audiences. All of these experiences came together to shape the person who would later become the face of one of the most controversial and popular television shows about ancient mysteries. While Giorgio Tsoukalos was building a successful career in bodybuilding promotions, he was also quietly working on something that mattered much more to him personally. His childhood interest in aliens, ancient gods, and mysterious civilizations never faded, and by the late 1990s, he decided to take those interests seriously. In 1998, he launched a magazine called Legendary Times, which focused entirely on the idea that extraterrestrials may have visited Earth in the past. This was a bold move because at the time, very few publications were willing to talk openly about such theories. Most scientists and historians considered these ideas to be fringe or speculative, and mainstream media rarely discussed them in a serious way. Giorgio wanted to change that. He believed that people should be allowed to ask questions about ancient history, religion, and technology without being mocked or ignored. As the editor-in-chief and publisher of Legendary Times, he invited writers and researchers from around the world to contribute articles about ancient mysteries, strange archaeological findings, and historical texts that could be interpreted in new ways. The magazine explored topics like pyramids, ancient temples, mysterious artifacts, and stories from old religions that described beings coming from the sky. Many contributors suggested that these stories might describe advanced visitors from other planets rather than supernatural gods. Giorgio's goal was not just to entertain readers, but also to create a community of people who were curious about alternative history. In addition to the magazine, he also opened Legendary Times Books, an online bookstore that sold books about ancient astronauts, UFOs, and unexplained mysteries. At the time, it was hard to find such books in regular bookstores, so his online store became a popular place for fans of these topics. People from all over the world visited the site to buy rare and controversial books that they could not easily find elsewhere. Giorgio believed that information should be accessible, even if it was controversial, and he wanted to give people the freedom to explore ideas that mainstream academia rejected. Through Legendary Times, he built connections with well-known figures in the ancient astronaut community, including Erich von Däniken, the author whose book had inspired him as a child. Meeting his childhood hero was a major moment for him, and they eventually worked together on research and publications. Giorgio even became the director of the Erich von Däniken Center for Ancient Astronaut Research, where they analyzed ancient texts, artworks, and monuments for possible signs of extraterrestrial contact. Although critics argued that their work lacked scientific evidence and relied heavily on speculation, Giorgio and his colleagues believed they were asking important questions that mainstream scholars ignored. They published articles, gave lectures, and appeared in documentaries to share their ideas with a growing audience. Slowly, Giorgio's name started to become known in alternative history circles, and he was invited to speak at conferences and events about UFOs and ancient mysteries. This period of his life was important because it transformed him from a private enthusiast into a public researcher and media personality. He learned how to present his ideas to audiences, defend his theories against critics, and build a loyal fan base. Legendary Times was not a mainstream success, but it was influential within its niche community and laid the foundation for what would later become a global television phenomenon. Without this magazine and his early research work, Giorgio Tsoukalos might never have reached the History Channel or become the famous Ancient Aliens guy that millions of people recognize today. After years of working on Legendary Times and building a name in the world of alternative history, Giorgio Tsoukalos was ready for something much bigger. Television was the perfect platform to share his ideas with millions of people, and soon, that opportunity arrived. In 2009, the History Channel released the first episode of a documentary-style show called Ancient Aliens. At first, it was just a special program, and no one knew how popular it would become. But the response surprised everyone. Viewers were shocked and fascinated by the idea that ancient civilizations might have been helped by visitors from other worlds. Giorgio appeared on the show as a consulting producer and featured expert, and his passionate, confident way of speaking quickly made him stand out. His unique hairstyle, serious tone, and bold claims made him unforgettable, and many viewers felt that they were hearing ideas they had never heard before. The show explored pyramids, ancient temples, old religious texts, mysterious technologies, and strange artworks, suggesting that some of these things could be explained by alien contact. While many scientists strongly disagreed, the show's storytelling style made it exciting and easy to watch. The first episode attracted more than 1 million viewers, which was a huge success for the network. Because of this, the History Channel decided to turn it into a full series. Over the years, Ancient Aliens produced hundreds of episodes, and Giorgio appeared in almost all of them. He became the face of the show, and people around the world began to recognize him instantly. The series also inspired spin-offs like In Search of Aliens, where he served as a host and co-producer. His role was not just on camera. He helped shape the topics, choose experts, and guide the direction of the series. The show's creators drew inspiration from books by Eric von Daniken and other alternative history authors, and they invited writers, researchers, and UFO experts to share their theories. Ancient Aliens became one of the History Channel's longest-running and most-watched shows, and it built a massive global audience. People who loved mysteries, science fiction, and conspiracy theories became loyal fans, tuning in to every new episode. At the same time, critics accused the show of promoting pseudoscience and misleading viewers, but this controversy only made it more popular. The more people argued about it, the more attention it received. Giorgio embraced his role as a public figure and traveled the world for interviews, lectures, and conventions. He also became a frequent guest on radio shows like Coast to Coast AM, where listeners enjoyed hearing him discuss strange theories late at night. For many fans, he became a symbol of curiosity and open-minded thinking, someone who dared to question traditional explanations of history. For others, he became a symbol of misinformation and sensationalism in media. But regardless of opinions, there was no denying that Ancient Aliens transformed Giorgio Tsoukalos from a niche researcher into an international celebrity. His face, voice, and ideas became part of popular culture, and his show helped shape how millions of people think about aliens, ancient history, and the mysteries of the universe. This period marked the peak of his mainstream fame and set the stage for both the intense criticism and the internet meme fame that would follow in the years to come. As Ancient Aliens became more popular, the criticism against Giorgio Tsoukalos and the show also grew stronger. Many scientists, historians, archaeologists, and cosmologists were unhappy.